broke the cork off. A bourbon steward. It takes me a minute to get some words sometimes. Oh, that's puke. Ugh. Ripping his clothes and gnashing his teeth. Corn whiskey. I still haven't found my first Blanton's. I had a little bit of a technical issue. I had started to record the Bourbcast so I could, edit it and do different things with it, and the card said it was full, and I had just emptied so last St. Patrick's Day, I was in the middle of cooking when I started the Bourbcast, and I didn't get the dinner made, so I came down here and I did the Bourbcast, and I ran upstairs and I forgot to turn off the camera. So it was recording for like 2 hours. So I erased that last track, but the card said that I didn't erase anything and it was still full. So just technical stuff that you don't really care about. I'm gonna leave that off. All right, so anyway, we're here. Larry's watching. Hey Larry, how are you? I'm glad you're here. It is Bourbcast time. Let's get into it. We're starting a little bit late, but that's okay. It's okay. You've come to get used to that with me. If I did anything on time, I think the world would just stop. It's just the way it feels sometimes. I really don't try to do it that way, but I just cram every minute into my day that I possibly can. I was all over the place today, and I'm glad to be here with you, shipping on a little whiskey. All right. So this is a product by Cleveland Distillery in, of course, Cleveland, Ohio, and they have one called Cleveland Black, which was my first experience with this, and I was not a fan. I'm an advocate for doing whiskey the way whiskey is supposed to be done, and I don't like gimmicks. So let me kind of get into this a little bit. This was a bottle that was gifted to me by a good friend, actually in January, and he didn't have to do that. It was very, very kind of him to do that. I'll call it a late Christmas present. I don't know, but it was really nice of him to do it, and so I gotta give it a shot. I've tried this before and I didn't hate it, but I want to tell you a little bit about the distillery and why I tend to be a little bit jaded towards it. All right, so Cleveland whiskey. They call themselves innovators. They have a patented process they call pressure aging, and it's just, I'm not a fan. They escape the limitations of solely using a passive oak barrel environment for flavor, applying the process to finish a classic bourbon recipe with black cherry wood, in this case. The result is a spirit that is unquestionably and deliciously different. That's their words. They also say underground black cherry wood bourbon delivers a unique, rich, textured, and well-rounded bourbon with a light flavor from the cherry wood with a slightly tart, slightly sweet spice note, no added sugar, artificial flavor, or preservatives. Now, when you have a flavored whiskey or a finished whiskey, that is one of the things that I will look for is, did you add anything to it? Crown Royal, for instance, they add flavorings to some of their stuff. It's not natural. To that, I'll give these guys some kudos in the fact that the flavorings that could be added or not added, they're natural based on the wood that they're using. It says here, whiskeys are finished with woods other than oak and not only in a barrel, creating natural flavors without sugar or syrup or artificial color. Again, that I respect. But this is the part that I get a little iffy on. And Rob is watching. Hey, Rob. Using proprietary technology to mature our spirits, we take very young whiskey aged in a barrel for less than 6 months, and instead of continuing to keep the whiskey in the barrel, they take the liquid out. We take the staves from the barrel, they cut up the barrel, they cut and measure to control for oxygen content, surface area, and moisture. Then they take the wood from the barrel and they shove it in these stainless steel tanks that are pressure. They're under pressure. So again, nutshell. Rather than leave the stuff sitting in a barrel for however much time, 4 years, 6 years, 2 years, 9 months, whatever, they rest it in a barrel, and then they cut up the barrel, and then they put it all in a pressure tank. From there, they take the miracle of nature and weather and reduce it down to a science, controlling for temperature changes, pressure, oxygen infusion, and finally cavitation. That just isn't a pleasant word. Like moist. I don't like cavitation. I don't like it. Essentially forcing the reaction between the wood and the whiskey. So pressure, right? So a normal aging process is you have the liquid in the cask or the barrel. Humidity, heat, cold, all those things are going to drive that liquid into and out of the cask. This process, it's in a pressure tank which drives the liquid in and out of the wood. Okay. Process is what allows us to use uncommon woods like sugar maple, apple, and black cherry to finish our underground bourbons. Underground is one of the series. It's kind of like Whiskey Row for Old Forester. Underground is a series for Cleveland whiskey. If you made a barrel out of these woods, they would leak like a sieve. But they do make incredible, never-before-tasted flavor profiles for our bourbons. Now, I don't know if this is a bourbon or a whiskey. Let's see what it says. It says bourbon whiskey finished with black cherry wood. So, I don't know if you can call it a bourbon, but it would have been a bourbon before they finished it. So it's a finished bourbon. How about that? Mash bill on this, they provide the mash bill, so okay, I'm good. And it's a decent mash bill. 75% corn, a little high on the rye, 21%. Again, anything over 18 is what I consider a high rye. And Adavaria is watching. Hey, Adavaria. That's still just funny. And then 4% malted barley. So 75 corn, 21 rye, 4% malted barley. It's 47% alcohol by volume, which is 94 proof. Which is nice too, because Crown Royal, they do their flavored whiskeys, and those are 70 proof. They're meant to be 70 proof. There's a reason they're 70 proof. This is 94. So again, a little respect for it. I don't like the process, but let's see if it can make good whiskey. I will tell. I said at the very beginning, and I'll say it again. The whiskey black. It used to be a taller bottle, and I think they've changed their bottles on it, but I didn't care for it. My friends didn't care for it. It's not even a mixer. It's a drain pour. I don't like it. It's terrible. It's I guess the regular bourbon that's done with this pressure aging stuff, and I'm not a fan. I don't like the gimmicks. And it's not just that it's the gimmicks. It's just that it's not good. Another one that does gimmicks like that is the Oak and Eden. I've talked to people who like it. I do not. It was not good. And they think that they're, aging in the bottle by putting a stave in there. And that's not how that works. That's, no. So, again, gimmicks aside, let's give this a fair shot. All right, so 94 proof, 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley. I mean, it makes you wonder what these companies would do. I mean, have they set any of their distillate aside? Are they doing anything that would be traditionally aged? And if not, why not? I get that you got your model, and I get that you got your thing, and you're selling your products the way that they're selling, but I just wonder what it would be like if they aged it for 6 years in a regular barrel, a white oak, freshly charred barrel, and what that would taste like. And if it's better than that black, because I didn't like that black at all. And I'm not trying to beat up on these folks. I find myself to be a bit of a traditionalist. But let's try it. I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Kevin's watching. Hey, Kevin. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for watching. I actually got to tour what's going to be a new bourbon bar today. The owner got in touch with me and said, hey, I want you to come look at this. And he was asking for a bunch of, he doesn't know bourbon, he doesn't know whiskey, knows some, but I mean, the amount of what I can tell him and how to get started is hopefully going to change his business. I mean, I'm kind of excited about it. I wasn't offered a position, and I wasn't asking for one, but it was always kind of a biker bar. He actually pointed out a spot. He goes, "There's a guy that died right over there." It's like, okay, but he's going to turn it into an upscale bourbon bar, so. It's kind of cool. The place has got good bones. It's beautiful, beautiful place. It just needs to overcome its past. All right. All right, nose is good. Boy, the caramels really came out, caramel, if you have a degree. The caramels really came out nicely. Cinnamons are there. For something that was done in black cherry and bills itself as a black cherry whiskey, this is a nice nose. And of course, black cherry's on it. It's not real heavy though, honestly. Slight sense of vanilla, which is a nice departure. I haven't had a real good sense of vanilla now for a little bit. It's got decent oak. You'll notice this is a new glass. This is the glass that we got from Boone County when we did that pick down there. And I just felt like doing something different, so I'm using that glass, but I'm turning it around because it's not Boone County. Put my hand over it there, you can't see it. Just a little different type of Glencairn. Not even a Glencairn, it's just different. Anyway. I don't have any notes. I didn't write down any notes that the distillery put out there. So, well, you should be getting this and this and this. Maybe a little. Oh, what is that? I was warring between honey and brown sugar. It's honey. There's a little honey on it. Yeah, there's honey on it for sure. All right. I like the nose. Let's see how it handles the palate. It's got a decent bloom. I didn't leave it sit in there real long, which was my mistake. Now I'm screwed up. But that bloom, that burn on the tongue, it was nice. It traveled. Started off on the top, on the tip, and went back, and stayed kind of in the back of my tongue. All right, let me get the rest of it. Not thin. It's got a decent mouthfeel. Okay, so with this one, the flavors on this are nice. They're good. Again, I wasn't a fan of black, but I tried this one before, and I liked it when I tried it before. The thing that I'm curious about is they bill this as a black cherry, and I know that they use this cherry wood in there, but I'm not getting on the palate this overwhelming sense of black cherry at all. It's not like it's knocking my socks off. I got more of the black cherry on the nose than I am on the palate. On the palate, I'm just getting kind of a nicely balanced whiskey, to be truthful. I mean, I like these. I do like it when there are stave experiments. Obviously, Maker's Mark does stave experiments, and I like that, especially the Maker's 46. Very good. And there's other ones that do stave experiments as well, and I like those, but I like them better when they're in the barrel, because I'm a purist when it comes to that, and it's not as gimmicky to me. So I have some appreciation for what they've tried to do here by using cherry staves in the process. I just don't like the whole pressure thing. I would like to know what the equivalent is with the pressure they use and how long that they could say, well, this would have been a 6-year, this would have been an 8-year, this would have been a 4-year, based on the pressure that we give it. I don't know if there's any metric for that. There might be. I've never talked to them. The finish on this, I'm getting a little bit more of that black cherry, but it's not as pleasant. The finish on this is a little bit astringent. That's really about the best word I can get it. The nose is good, the palate is good, the finish, not so good. Not terrible, not great. So let's get back into it here. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I'm sitting here yapping. A couple of drops of water, I think, changes this flavor. We're about to find that out. Joel, and thank you for watching. We're about to find that out. Kenzie glass. Thank you, Kevin. You're right. That is what that's called. I happen to like this stuff. Okay, good. Good. Thank you. What else am I missing? Ellen is watching. Hey, Ellen. How are you? Again, I'm a little surprised at the lack of cherry flavor on this. And Joel, we'll put a little water on it here shortly. We run it through the gamut here. You're going to get the entire experience about what somebody may want to pull out of their whiskey. I don't know if you've joined us before. But you're here now, so you get to see how we do it. We go kind of in depth with the history. I didn't have time tonight to go in depth with the history of the distillery and where it come from and where they started and all those types of things. But we did talk a little bit about their process. And then we will add some water here shortly. I want to give this one more chance neat. That time I got a little bit more black cherry on it, but it's opened up a little bit in just a few minutes it's been sitting here. This is a fresh crack. It's what they call the neck pour. Hasn't been exposed to oxygen or time or space or anything like that. Alan's talking. Why is it called neat? Because there's nothing in it. There's another word. Straight up is another way to say it. Like I want this straight up. Sometimes though, straight up can mean on an ice cube. Depends on where you are and who you're talking to. So neat is used because if you say neat, it definitely means that you don't want anything in it, that you want a neat pour, no ice, no water, that's it. As a matter of fact, there's a really great documentary out. Talks about bourbon. And it's called Neat, and it was on Hulu for a while. Really fantastic documentary. Talks about bourbon and how it's made and why it's special and why it's a unique product for the rest of the world. What the laws are. Good luck finding it now. I don't think they have it on Hulu anymore. They might. Then there was another one they got made called Scotch, and it wasn't quite as good as Neat, but it was still a pretty good documentary. All right, so Joel has suggested that we do a little bit of water. So Joel, what I've been doing lately is just a couple drops. And we'll see how much. Yeah, I could have really poured a little bit more. Joel's still talking. Let's. Where's Aaron? Sipping White Claws. We don't see Aaron very much anymore. Aaron took a new job and he's busy a lot. But it's funny that you mentioned him. He contacted me the other day. Wanted to do some bourbon hunting. It's been the first time in a while that he's wanted to do any bourbon hunting, and all of a sudden he got like this idea that he wanted to go and he wanted to go crazy. Well, so, okay. Crazy's outside my domain these days. Bottle here, bottle there. I still got quite a few to go through. Although a lot of those have been opened, so now we're going to get to a point here at some point that I'm going to need to pick up some more bottles because, I mean, I've done over 250 different bourbons now, and I know there's a lot more, and there's other states where there's stuff that isn't, I've never even seen it before, never heard of it. I've got one upstairs that came from the state of Wyoming that I still haven't tried because the person who brought it to me is going to do Bourbcast with me, and I'm not done building out my studio yet. I need to build this out and get it finished. Doing some changing. Time's the changing. All right, so a little water on it. It did bring those flavors together a little more. Brought out more of the black cherry. Brought out more of the honey as well. That oak is still there. Those are the things that came out mostly. It didn't kill the cinnamons either. The cinnamons are still there. And so far I'm not getting that more tannic. So you may be right, Joel. The finish is not as tannic, it is not as astringent as it was. A little time open and a little time in the glass probably didn't hurt that either. Matter of fact, I'm getting a little bit of a brown sugar finish now, which I didn't get before. It was more tannic and more astringent, but really decent brown sugar note on the finish now that I've added a little water to it. You may have nailed that one, Joel. So good suggestion. All right. So, after this, we've got one more week in the month of March. This, by the way, is the first day of spring. Happy spring. If you're in Ohio, my area of Ohio, it does not feel like spring. I was driving home from an event that I had to go to, which is why I'm a little bit late and a little bit unprepared, a little bit unorganized. The trifecta for a positive show. Anyway, I was on my way home, and it's pelting me with like little sleet ice balls, or sleet-type snow, frozen snow. Thank you, spring. Anyway, okay. So I got out the old ice mold here. I wanted to throw a new ice sphere on it. And it was in the freezer, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get out the whole thing, because maybe I haven't shown you this in a while. I was telling that bar owner, or soon-to-be bar owner, about using ice spheres. Now, if you sell 50 drinks a day, that's a lot of ice spheres you got to make. So maybe there's an industrial version that'll make a whole lot of them at once. But by gummy, when I first discovered the clear ice sphere, it was in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina. I was on location for a job. And we went to a place called the Fox Bourbon Bar. It's like a speakeasy. It's downstairs. It's dimly lit, sparsely decorated. Some of the best drinks. I mean, and the ice sphere was probably another 50% bigger than this one. And the glass was big, and it was cool. It was cool. And in the Fox Bourbon Bar, or the Fox Liquor Bar, they knocked it out of the park. Their cocktails were fantastic. If you're ever in Raleigh, you got to look this place up. So I was telling this new bar owner today about that place, and I've got to send him a whole lot of resources and all that. And I know I talked about it a little bit because I was asked to, but I'll mention it again. In May, I'm going to be spending some time in Louisville, and I'm going to be getting my executive Bourbon Steward certification. I've already got a Bourbon Steward certification, but I guess now they're calling it like, I don't know, an associate or a junior or McGruff the Crime Dog certificate. I don't know. It's something, but yeah, I'm going to go in May, get my executive Bourbon Steward, and then we'll see what I can do with that. Because I know people, when they do that, they go and they get their executive Bourbon Steward, and it's because they have a career waiting for them. They're going to work at a bar, or they're going to work at a distillery, or they're going to do something. I don't have any of those plans. So who knows what doors it could possibly open. I'm not asking for any doors to open. I just want to do it because I want to do it. It's going to be fun. And the more I get to learn, come on. It'll be cool. It'll be cool. But I'll be able to use that. If anybody needs me to use that experience for something, I can. Finger stir time. Finger stir. You got a sexy little finger stir. For those of you who haven't seen this before, I would never do this with your drink. But I'm doing it with mine. Okay. All right. It's just something that we do. Okay. Kind of killed it, but not all the way. It's just injured. Mortally injured. I mean, if I let this ice sphere melt much more, there's not going to be much left of it. This is not one for ice. So what I'm getting on the ice is the oak. It's almost all I'm getting is the oak. There may be a slight amount of that black cherry stave in there, but I'm not I'm not getting a lot. So, yeah, I would avoid the ice on this one. This was one that was better on water. Thank you, Joel. That was a great suggestion, and it worked out well. It's not bad, really, honestly. Even neat, it's not bad. I am interested in trying some of the other ones in the line of the Cleveland Underground. They've got a number of them. I don't remember what they are, and I didn't have the time to look them up and see what else was out there. I'm sure there's other things, and I know there are because I've seen them. I don't remember what they are. I've seen them on the shelf. I just don't remember what they are. And Alan's saying, have you ever had a bourbon which was much better with water or ice? Yeah. Yeah, there's some that I have been totally disenchanted by, and I put ice on it, and it's better. Just a few weeks ago I did that. There was one that really impressed me over ice, which is rare, but it does happen. Sometimes muting the flavor, which ice will do. Every time you put it on ice, you cool it down and you mute some of those natural flavors, and sometimes that's not a bad thing. Maybe regular Cleveland Black would be better with an ice cube. I don't know. And I would be willing to revisit Cleveland Black if somebody else wanted to buy it for me. I don't want to spend my money on it. And again, I don't mean to be critical, but what you like is what you like, and what you don't like is what you don't like, and I didn't like it. Now, would I throw it across the yard and call it puke? I would have to revisit it again to be able to tell you that. But my experience with it was not positive. I'll just keep it at that. Have I kept it at that? I have. I've been fair, right? Maybe not so much. So yeah, there's some that are better with ice, and there's some that are better with water. This one is definitely a little bit better with water, particularly on the finish. Although, on the palate without water, it was pretty decent too. Joel they make a chocolate one that's not bad if that's your thing. So there are some bourbons out there that have a milk chocolate overtone. There was one that Woodford did that was a chocolate malt. It was a Woodford finishing series or Master's Collection. I think it was Master's Collection. And it was chocolate malt. And it was horrible. I love Woodford Reserve. This was nasty with a capital N. I wanted to like it. I was excited about drinking it. And I took a sip, and it's like, this is awful. And I was so heartbroken because I really wanted to like it. But like we did on Monday for St. Patrick's Day, we did the Whistler. And that has a really beautiful milk chocolate note in it. Tullamore Dew does as well. So a nice chocolate note in a whiskey or a bourbon, I like it. The only one that I've had that was specifically supposed to give me chocolate on the flavor was nasty. So I might like it. I might very much not like it. Now, there are some beers that I've had that are infused with like a chocolate. And some of those are quite delicious. As a matter of fact, I love a good stout. Guinness makes me happy. Would I ever say that that's infused with chocolate? No. And I know that there's some that are, though, and they're really, really good. A friend of mine was a microbrewer, and he would play with it sometimes, and he made a very, very, very nice chocolate beer, or chocolate-ish beer. But my one experience with it in whiskey was not a good one. Not a good one at all. So, Magic Rabbit. I had to look it up. I have not had that. Brent's watching. Hey, Brent, how are you, sir? I've heard of Magic Rabbit. I've seen it on the shelves. I was scared. For me, it's like buying, a Yoo-Hoo bourbon. I couldn't bring myself to buy a Yoo-Hoo bourbon. And I know Yoo-Hoo, they do make, I think, a hard drink. Like no. No. Spiked hot chocolate. Ugh. And so Magic Rabbit, I've seen it. I stocked it. And I'm like, WTF is this? And it didn't sell very well. I think the bottles that I stocked are probably still on the shelves. And OHLQ was very specific about where they wanted those things on the shelves. They're like, put it here. I'm like, but it doesn't belong there. It's not a bourbon. Put it there. No. Yes. Fine. They can be very heavy-handed. Anyway, so yeah. 70 proof, I just looked. Guinness Stout. Well, yeah, I like Guinness Stout beer. I do. I like a lot of the micro beers. I don't like some of the newer ones because I haven't tried them. You know, it's a whole new category of beer, and I'm not a huge beer drinker anymore. But when I do, I like my Sam Adams, I like my Heineken, I like my Black and Tan, I like my Amber Bock, and I like my Guinness on occasion, not all the time. And I like my Stella Artois too. I like that one, but not a big beer drinker anymore. Okay, so anyway. I am going to have another sip of this with a little water on it. I still have a little in the glass with the ice. I'll probably recycle that ice sphere because I'm cheap and stupid and lazy. But we'll do that. Now, this is the beginning of our, I guess, fruit series. We're going to wrap up next Thursday with International Whiskey Day, and that is when we're going to bring out the Crown Royal Blackberry. I haven't even looked inside this box yet. I'm imagining that the Crown Royal bag is purple. Am I right? Am I right about that? Purplish. Kind of a cross between purple and lavender, it looks like. It's not unattractive. It's not gorgeous. So, but yeah, so we're going to try this next week. It's only 70 proof. I'm not expecting a lot. I've not heard good things about it. You know, people got really, really excited about it. It was hard to find. Now all of a sudden it's not so hard to find. And I wonder why that might be. So I will be prepared with some mixers. I'll probably have, I don't know, 7-Up and ginger ale, and I'll look and see what kind of recipes are out there, and maybe we'll play around with it a little bit. So we'll try this, and I'm hoping I don't hate it. I'm hoping I like it just the way that it is. Because I like the honey, and I like the maple, and I like the peach. Honey and maple they don't do anymore. Of course. But they have this. So we'll come back to it next week and get to that. And then beyond that, when we get done with this one next week, I'll run you through the gamut of what's coming beyond that into the month of April. We've got some stuff sitting here. I've got it right here, as a matter of fact, that I've never opened. I'm ready to try some new stuff, and I'm looking forward to it. We also have a couple of places that we're probably going to go. So we're going to be doing some live Bourbcasts, or we may have to record them, depending on the schedule and different things like that. We may have to record them and then run them as if they're live. But I've got a couple of different distilleries that have shown some interest, and a couple different bars that have showed some interest. So we'll see how that goes. Because it's a big deal to move all this stuff and take it out on the road, which is why I haven't done it. I thought I was going to have a crew to help me with that. I never got a crew to help me with that, so we haven't done it. But we might do it this year. So, all right, so that's it. I've been rambling on long enough. We will see you next week for this one right here, the Crown Royal Blackberry for International Whiskey Day. Want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Aaron showed up, and they're picking on each other. You're late, he says. Only way to drink that is with lemonade. Yeah, you know, that's a good idea. I do happen to have some canned lemonade upstairs, so maybe we'll add that. We'll do 7-Up, we'll do like ginger ale, and we'll do some lemonade. And again, I'll keep looking and seeing what else is available and what might work for this if I hate it. So we will see you again next week. Thank you so much for watching. You could be doing anything else, and you're here with me, and I appreciate it. And next week, we'll see you. Thanks.